Well, we're live.
We are live.
Welcome to another Couples Academy show. We're so glad that you're joining us. While you're here, all the early comers, would you please like, share, and subscribe? Tell everybody who you know. Everybody has been waiting and saying, I can't wait to get on and listen to the Couples Academy show live. Every week people say that. So if you know somebody who's been trying to catch us live, take a moment right now and just share that and let them know, hey, they just came on. Don't miss it. They're about to drop some knowledge. So welcome, everybody.
We are the Couples Academy show, and we are broadcasting live from Atlanta, Georgia.
We are.
That is our world headquarters, and we're excited because so many people tune in from all over the world, at least 6 continents, and we're happy that we're able to contribute to people's growth, to their marriage. And so we talk about life and love and relationships and communication and sexuality and all things that make a relationship go right and what to do to prevent that relationship from going wrong.
And what's your name?
Oh, my name is Hassani.
And I'm Danielle Pettiford. And today's topic is, am I married to a narcissist? Join us right now.
All right. Am I married to a narcissist? That's our topic today. And, it's interesting because we were just talking about this before we got started, that is such a term that's used all the time. My husband's a narcissist. My wife is a narcissist. And, it is a disorder. And I think that you were talking about how 6% of all people are actually narcissists, but there are many people who have narcissistic tendencies, attributes, personality traits that are reminiscent.
Well, that's the thing. 6% is what we can track because most narcissists will never, ever go get tested to find out that they are narcissists. Why? Because they're a narcissist. And so even though we know that there's about 6% of the population that actually are diagnosed narcissists, there are far more. And unfortunately, we tend to encounter them quite often in the business that we're in because we're dealing with affairs. And a lot of times, some of those characteristics shine through. Some of those egotistical, self-centered personality traits shine through. So while people are throwing out the word narcissist every 5 seconds, they may be experiencing characteristics of narcissism. It may not necessarily be an actual narcissist you're dealing with, but somebody who's carrying quite a few of those tendencies.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we want to unpack it today because I think we need to give the people clarity. And, we want to figure out if you're married to a narcissist or if you are a narcissist, how to properly identify what it is and then what to do with it. And so,
do you have a definition?
Yeah, one of the definitions, and you can go to any source and they'll all pretty much say the same thing, but narcissism is an egotistical admiration of one's idolized self-image. So you see yourself a whole lot better than other people see you. It could be an inflated ego. It is a disorder in which a person has an inflated sense of self-importance. And that's a horrible thing when you're in a relationship and there's other people who are a part of your world, like your spouse and your children. And if you put yourself first above and beyond everyone else, that's a problem. One of the roles of a spouse and a parent is to serve, right? Is to take care of others. But a narcissistic personality type of individual wants to be served. I remember, my good friend Andre Whitfield, he wrote a phenomenal book called Male to Man. And he says that males look to be served, but men look to be of service. And we can fit that into the same, personality type of a narcissist. They want everybody to take care of them and to build up their self-inflated ego.
And to cater to them. And I think it's interesting, the term narcissist came from a Greek young man whose name was Narcissus, who actually fell in love with a reflection of his own image in a pond. And so that really gives you an idea of what we're talking about. Somebody that requires to be catered to. They have a grandiose self-identity. And at the root of it, really, there's a lack of self-worth. There is a lack of value, and it comes from a lot of different places that can come together and create this personality style. So somebody who requires a ton of admiration and the focus to always be on them is just one small indication of that type of a personality, but still doesn't necessarily put them in the narcissist category. But some of those qualities you start to put together. If you're somebody who's in a relationship and you're thinking, am I married to a narcissist? And you find yourself starting to research information about narcissism, you are kind of creating your checklist. Like, okay, yes, this, that, and the third, so that you can come up with the thought that yes, he's a narcissist, or yes, she's a narcissist, because odds are you're never going to get them at a doctor's office to be able to say, yes, I want to be tested. Let's find out if I'm actually a narcissist.
Wow, that's interesting.
So you're going to have to come up with this information on your own and do your own research to find this out.
There's a great comment from Facebook user. Good morning. Great topic today. The word is used often to describe people dealing with partners that have narcissistic tendencies or behaviors. Typically, true narcissists wouldn't consider their behavior a problem, so they would never get diagnosed. And you just said that. That's absolutely true.
That's literally it.
That's absolutely true.
So there's quite a few points here that I wanted to kind of highlight, and we'll get into discussion on this, just to give you an idea of what you're dealing with, what you're really dealing with at the root of this thing when it comes to narcissism. Okay, so this is a person that has zero tolerance for shame. And what that might look like is that, a narcissist may tend to do a lot of things wrong, very hurtful, self-centered things in the relationship, but will never own up to it, acknowledge it, or face it because of the shame. And the reason why they avoid the shame is because of their own lack of self-worth and value. It almost is like a mirror reflecting back to them. And so there's a doctor that mentions how the narcissistic personality, it's combining nurture and nature. Okay, so how you nurture a child, all this stuff stems from our childhood. If you have raised a child with this overly sense of self-importantness, that they have a certain specialness, and that's how you've raised them, then you mix that with certain personality traits, because it actually is a medical and mental disorder. You actually create an environment to nurture that narcissistic personality style. That's
so true. Nature versus nurture is a powerful thing, because a lot of times people can falsely attach who they are to the wrong thing, not understanding there's influences from both. So in essence, you're born with a certain type of wiring, but then that can also be developed and poured into through your nurture. And that's why you have to raise your children upright. And we're going to get into that in terms of how to parent, because that also impacts how you raise your children and the expectations that they have for life. When we say this all the time, like if you are in a child-centered marriage where, you were once husband and wife, and all your time and energy and effort and affection went towards one another, and then you have children, and then you take off your husband and wife hat and put on your mommy and daddy hat, and everything is about the child. You move heaven and earth and adjust everything for that child. That child is raised to believe that, hey, the sun and the moon rises and falls on me. Every day is my birthday. Every day is about me. Me. And so if they've seen a one-way transactional, direction of love face towards them, when they become an adult, they expect the same thing. And so they don't know how to share. They don't know how to love. They don't know how to serve, because they never saw it. All they saw was that the fact, they were the recipients of such types of expressions, and they don't have the adequate tools and know how to make a relationship work.
Powerful. Cosmopolitan magazine points out that narcissists also tend to have a fragile, insecure mindset, because somewhere along the way, they were made to feel less than. They did not have proper nurture and loving in the home. And so because they did not get that nurture, they lack empathy. Literally, the fact that they were not loved in a proper way, you might imagine, I'm just making this up, but a wealthy child with parents that are just always off doing their own thing, and they've left the child to figure it out on their own. He never got that attention. Maybe he got things, right? But never, or she. Let's be fair. They got things, but they never got that love and that nurture. And so they had to dull that need. And so they started to not care, right? And now they have apathy. And so they just going through life with apathy and not have no connection. And so when you get into a relationship later on in life where emotions matter, they just don't feel comfortable in that environment. Like if you hurt me and I got to face you and you got to face me, and I've got to deal with this hurt and pain, but I'm dealing with these narcissistic tendencies, it is going to make me even loathe myself even more. because I've never been made to feel comfortable in a situation where emotions were flowing.
So true, so true, so true. I have a couple comments I want to jump to. Male to Man, Dondre Whitfield book mentioned narcissistic desires focus to be on them. Absolutely true. LaShawn says, let's jump to LaShawn. Oh, I'm sorry about that. I failed my marriage. I've done this all by myself. So my marriage is not healthy. My husband has the right to leave me. I don't deserve love. LaShawn, what are you talking about? You don't deserve love. You failed your marriage. Your spouse deserves to leave. Possibly that may be true, but it doesn't mean that has to be your end result.
I think LaShawn is maybe speaking from the point of view and the mindset of the narcissist, because even though they express a certain kind of way, they don't care, and they show up a certain kind of way, grandiose and big, and I got it all together, deep down inside, they're feeling like I'm a failure. I can't do this. I can't do that. And that's something that you'll never really get to. Like, they've got the layers of this onion hiding the real self-loathing that's down inside.
Yeah. And here's another comment from Clarence. The lack of empathy that my wife has towards our marriage has really caused a problem in our relationship. And we talk about this all the time. You know, obviously a narcissist struggles with empathy and compassion and emotionally connecting to someone else because they're self-absorbed. And that does create a significant problem. And you can have all the conversations in the world you want, all the coming to Jesus conversations. But a person has got to acknowledge their own issue and be willing to change for themselves, because they don't value the opinions of others. They look at it as a threat. How dare you? And it just creates a major problem. And so, you know, I think Steve was asking, well, where can I take this personality assessment? How can I determine whether I have a narcissistic personality disorder? Now, you can go to a psychologist. They can offer that. But there are resources online, and we're going to make sure that we post it. I have one for you that's going to be in the description, and you can take a test. But here's the deal. The question is, if a narcissist takes his or her own test, will it prove to be narcissistic? Because isn't there a false sense of reality in terms of what is, as opposed to one's perception of self?
It's possibly why you have to go to a psychologist to be evaluated. You know, that's a good point. Even when we give our assessments for Enneagram, you know, we're like, answer with the first response that comes to your mind. But if the first response that comes to your mind is, you know, defending your point of view and your perspective because you have a narcissistic mindset, that might skew the results. And
you know what, Danielle, very good point, because when we do give people that test, a lot of times they're off, and we can sense what they are. Their spouse can sense what they are. And so a lot of times in these sessions, we'll say, listen, spouse, we want you to tune in. We want you to speak. Does this resonate with who you know your spouse to be? Because some of us are so, I don't know, to your point, we're trying to protect our ego, or we're oblivious to who we really are.
You're reading those questions and you know where it's going. So if you're trying to protect that from you, you know, you don't want to be exposed, then you'll shift your answer. And that's how we end up with these tests that are like way left. Like,
but it exposes you. But it does expose you in the end, because you're like, Joker, no, you lie. And then the truth comes out, well, I kind of read through them 3-4 times and really contemplated what the answer was going to be.
I've actually had to test someone 3 times once to finally get to the root of the personality style. All right, next one. Burdensome expectations were often placed on the narcissist at an early age. And this is what scientists have shown, that when you put too many burdens and responsibilities on someone at an early age, this can cause this, you know, I guess a suppression of emotions, or maybe it's kind of like advancing the personality too soon. They were doing things as a young child that they shouldn't have done, and now somehow that's affected the shaping of their personality.
Yeah, it's even called developmental lag. You know, when you're a child and you put into responsibility, like for instance, you have to be the man in the house because dad's not there. And so you're responsible for helping raise your children, or your siblings, excuse me. Or maybe you've been exposed to some type of abuse, or maybe there's a family member who's struggling with some type of mental disorder, and you're robbed of that childhood and you're taking on all this responsibility. That's so true. And also, you don't properly develop.
And also the idea of, I don't want to let my parents down. Like, I can't fail. Like, here I am, this kid doing these big time responsibilities, taking care of my family, maybe taking care of a sick parent, having to take care of other siblings that are younger than me, even though I'm still a child. And if all goes wrong, I get in trouble.
That's right.
Right. So this burden is upon me to not get it wrong. And so now I've shaped my personality that I can't never be wrong. And now that plays out in your marriage.
Absolutely.
Narcissists are fueled by a desperate need to be superior, according to Dr. Sandy, who is the author of Why Is It Always About You? The 7 Deadly Sins of Narcissism. Now, that might be a good book to pick up if somebody out here is dealing with a narcissist and they think they are and they want to get some points. But always feeling like they have to be superior. It's more than, we can be great together. It's I've got to be better than you and you've got to be worse than me.
Isn't it ridiculous? We see so much competition between couples all the time. There's like this power struggle. Who makes more money? Who has more attention and affection from the children? Who has more friends? Who has more social status? And that could be a result of somebody who struggles with narcissism. And it's at the end of the day, we say this all the time. It's no longer the team of me. It's the team of we. We are a couple. It's we, us, our, not he versus she, him versus her. And oftentimes your spouse is there by God to help complete you, not to compete with you. And so that's the challenge. And narcissism can really destroy a relationship because it doesn't allow for that level of oneness that you need in a relationship.
And what you said is interesting because I think the sad part of it is that the narcissist can't perceive that gift, right? You're not here to compete with one another, right? But that's just not the way they see it. That's just not the way that they feel it. So what does a spouse do that can't reason with you in that way? Like, I can't say to you, we're not in competition. I'm on your side. We're on team Pettiford or team whatever your last name is. I'm here to support
That's
you.
right.
This doesn't have to be defensive. What do you do if you're married to somebody who does not see it that way, that all they see is you as competition, that you remind them because of your greatness and your fabulosity, you remind them of how they feel low. They actually feel beneath you, but you'll never, ever know that. They feel that you're smarter than them. They feel that you've got it all together and they don't. And the moment that they actually part their lips to give you a compliment, that's when it all comes down for them. Because now it's just like, I've actually let it out of my mouth that you're better than me. That's how they see it.
And this is why the point earlier about nature and nurture, or nature versus nurture, is so important. Because many of you who are watching, because I know you're just thinking about your spouse, I'm talking to you. Many of you who have these tendencies, yes, you may have come out this way, but a lot of you have had bad examples, bad modeling, and you've seen these things play out in your household growing up by mom and dad or siblings or aunts and uncles, and you've accepted these behaviors as the norm. And so what happens is when you come into a knowledge of right and wrong, you make those adjustments, you make those shifts. I mean, I could say, early in our marriage, I definitely had some narcissistic tendencies, but I'm not a narcissist. But once I gained a level of awareness, I began to shift and change in some of those areas, and I no longer do that. So that's what I'm saying. You have the ability of making changes if you struggle with some of these things, and you do not have to be what you once were. And that's the key. Personal transformation will lead to your marital restoration. Can we hashtag that? Personal transformation will lead to your marital restoration. And once we understand that, it's no longer pointing the finger at our spouse because we got 3 fingers pointing right back at us.
I got to read this one because this is so good. It says, number 6, a sense of entitlement lies at the core of the narcissist behavior, right? They feel they are deserving in situations without regard to other people, right? Entitlement is a way to bypass their having to feel disappointed or vulnerable because they've asked for something they didn't get it, explains Dr. Craig Melkin, who is the author of Rethinking Narcissism, another book for you to check out, and an instructor of psychology at Harvard Medical School. When an extremely entitled narcissist also exhibits manipulative, exploitive behavior, that's the most troubling combination. So this whole idea of being entitled, right? Like you now deserve something that you just don't deserve. And it doesn't matter what they've done or who they've done something to or how a person feels or how the environment is being impacted by you, what people around you are experiencing as a result of you. All that matters is me right now. That is the worst thing ever, to be bound to someone that no matter what the environment, all that matters is me right now. How am I feeling? What am I getting? How am I looking? How am I doing? And you never give regard to the person that's right next to you.
And one of the challenges we hear from couples is that no matter what we talk about, my spouse always makes it about them. Like somehow it always gets shifted and redirected. And what that does is it robs me of an opportunity to have my own voice, to have my own opinion, to give my own thoughts, because somehow you reshape and repackage it and change the narrative to be about yourself. This is some powerful stuff. We have a comment. I just counseled a couple where the husband is the last of 11 children and he caters to his mother. He's 60 and he feels the need to go home every other month because he feels guilty not being there. Okay, so I know birth order can contribute to a lot of things. When you're one of 11 children, there's probably a lot that you've missed out on. We talk about this all the time. The more children you have, the less the younger child gets, because the first child got everything, right? Because you're trying to figure this thing out. And then by the second and third child, they'll figure it out. They got their older siblings. Yeah. And so maybe there's a competitiveness that a child has with the siblings that can create some things. And so that's a part of the culture. And so there's this, I don't know, desire to cling on to a spouse or to a mom in this particular case. So, I mean, there's all types of contributing factors to why people do what they do. Another comment, she got a raise at work. He had to get a raise too. They work at the same company. See, this is what we're talking about. That competitiveness. That's what we're talking about. Right? I just can't be happy for you. Right. Like when Danielle wins, I win because we're one. Exactly. I'm not in competition. Exactly. She's not a threat to me. Exactly. I'm not intimidated. I don't deal with inadequacy because she shines. If she shines, we're on Team Pettifor. See, this is so frustrating, folks.
And I've seen it with education. You get a degree, then they got to go back and get a degree. Now you're on the degree game. Everybody going into debt because you're in competition to be the one on top. You get a promotion, they got to go get a promotion. You know, you cook a good meal, they got to cook the next best meal. You get a new pair of shoes, they got a new jacket. You ain't gonna outshine me. You ain't gonna outdo me. You're not gonna outshine. And what if it's two narcissists under the same roof? Could you imagine them burning themselves into a debt spiral because they're just competing on every edge, back and forth all the time? Neither of them recognizing that they both are narcissists. Wow.
That's deep.
Who's going to help them?
Oh, boy. A couple more comments. Emotional abuse have a very bad effect on the physical body also. You better believe it, because Danielle was talking about this the other day, that 70% of our bodies is water. There was a scientific study by Dr. Emoto who crystallized water and put words, positive and negative words, on these jars of water. And when they came out, the positive words had all this beautiful crystallization. The negative words, it looked like there was death and it was destruction. And that's what happens when you speak negativity you're speaking them into someone's life, and it causes all types of physical challenges that people deal with. And so this is why people say, man, I'm allergic to my spouse. Like, I'm sick just being around you. So we need to figure some things out to get things back on track.
Wow. Okay. Listen, the next one says narcissists tend to ignore appropriate boundaries. And you can understand how that might be the case for many scenarios you can put this into. Because a narcissist, again, is not thinking about how what they do is impacting the environment or anything else around them. All they're doing is catering to their own need at that moment, right? So if there's somebody in the room and they are shining, right? Somebody is the talker, got all the jokes, right? They look good, smell good, everything got it, and they in the room and they done stole the show. The narcissist will find something, somehow, regardless of the boundaries that they're breaking, regardless of how inappropriate it is, to make sure that the spotlight comes back on them. So you could fill the blanks in on that. Like if you are in a situation and you know that your spouse is a narcissist, right now I know you're playing scenarios in your head where your spouse did just that. Because when they see somebody else up, it means to them they are down. When they see somebody else over there successful and have it going on and has the charisma, for them, it's showing their lack of charisma and having it going on. And that's just how they see things.
There's a mindset. So they enter into a room and they're looking at everyone as competition.
Yes.
Who do I need to, like the attitude is all I do is win, 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 no matter what. And when you bring that mentality into a marriage, that's destructive. It's about us winning. We are winners, not me versus you. And this is the problem. So if you are a narcissist, if you have any of these tendencies, I want you to be open. I don't want you to defend, because a lot of times when we're talking about personalities, people have a tendency of defending. Well, the only reason why, or this only shows up when, or only with him, or only with her does that come out. Listen, a person can't pull out of you what's not in you. We talk about this all the time. If I had a lighter and I lit it and I put your hand over this lighter and I had 3 other people, one person responds to the heat differently than the other. One may curse, one may cry, one may scream, one may ball up a fist and punch. But what came out of you in your reaction was based upon what was in you, because a crier wouldn't punch and someone who punched wouldn't cry. And so the reality is, fine, you may point to a circumstance, point to a situation to justify why you do what you do. But at the end of the day, it is just an outward manifestation of an internal reality. And these are the things that we have to deal with if we're going to really be honest with ourselves and make changes and shifts in our relationship.
Narcissists respond best to empathic validation when being confronted. So here's the deal. What you never want to do when it comes to confronting a narcissist is say, you're always doing this, you ain't, because you are now confirming what they feel deep within. In other words, you cannot help validate the thing that's fueling the narcissist in the first place. And so one of the things that's suggested is that when you're approaching a narcissist, or if you think they're a narcissist, that you always have to affirm their position and validate the importance of them in your life. In other words, if there's a marriage, you're important to me in my life. You are this, you are that. You're so great at this and that and the third. But when it comes to this, and this is the stroking, that we have to do. So it's like sometimes we got to stroke, especially if you're married to a narcissist. You've heard of stroking the ego. Well, the narcissist has the biggest, baddest ego of all personalities. So you can understand that if you actually are married to a narcissist, that there's no way you're going to get through at all coming with typical conventional methods or responding out of your anger, because they are lifelong trained to manipulate, gaslight, and send you spiraling and questioning yourself. So you have to always begin with the validation when it comes to that.
Absolutely. There's a lot of comments here. Let's just go to a few of them. This is the one who had the 11 brothers and sisters, who has some attention to the mother. She says that he's there for his mother, but he disrespects his wife's feelings because of how his mother feels towards his spouse. He doesn't know how to tell his mom no. Talk to his wife, and his father died when he was 8. Gotcha. Yeah.
Okay.
And we see that, unfortunately, where there's more value, more respect, more attention, more affirmation, more of a consideration for the mother, or for the parent, let's just say, than for the spouse. And that causes a whole lot of issues in the home. And yeah, so, I mean, that's a common issue. And it speaks to another statement that someone else made. I'm trying to figure out where it is, but in essence, my husband apologizes and seems to care about others, but lacks empathy for me. Is he a narcissist? And I would say that I'm not so quick to just label a person a narcissist, because there are characteristics that may fall into the category of someone who is narcissistic. I think all of us have good and bad traits. And if there's any bad trait in a person, sure, it's quick and easy to just slap a label on it. And so I don't have a knee-jerk reaction to do that. I would just say that those are particular issues that he needs to work through in order to become the best version of himself.
But let's just put this out there too, that there is a gazillion resources out there on the internet. There are videos, there are articles. You can do your research to come to your own understanding if you are married to a narcissist, okay? It is not rocket science. You just heard the definition, okay? The definition's right there before you. And go get yourself some good books and some research and start taking your notes. Research. Hassan is always talking about having the book of Danielle. He is the book of Danielle. He knows my likes, interests, and all this and all that. Well, you can also create another book to find out who it is that you're married to.
Absolutely.
Because I don't believe people should stick their head in the sand and be like, well, since he's not diagnosed, he may never get diagnosed. And there are some narcissists out there that have done that and have understood, because you know what? When it comes to, and this is the next point, narcissists may be motivated to change if there is a meaningful consequence to their bad behavior. To me, the verdict is out on that, because I've heard lots of videos and read lots of articles on this narcissist topic. And some doctors say that there's no changing a narcissist, that it is a medical condition and it is what it is. But you do have the whole idea of losing it all factor that will motivate a narcissist for their own selfish gain to do right, meaning get your tail to a doctor and get yourself diagnosed because I need to know, right? And so they do get the diagnosis and they do know and they are aware. The question is, do they have the ability to do anything about it? Or are you subject to this mindset that you have to constantly, get back on track, that you have to constantly say, hey, let's just remember, right? We've got this diagnosis here. So I need you to know I'm not your enemy. Right? We're not going to be compatible all the time. Like, that's the stuff that you're dealing with until somebody comes up with narcissistic medication, which I've never heard of.
And see, this is for that reason. And this comment goes with that point. I love my wife and I really want to be with my wife, but my doctor and my therapist told me I need to rethink this. And so this is why I think it's important to deal with somebody who actually somebody who specializes in identifying narcissistic personality disorder.
Absolutely.
Because I don't want you to just assume that your spouse is something that they may not be, because if it is true that a narcissist can't change, but your spouse, listen, I'm not a narcissist because I've made changes. I'm far from where I was. I still have a journey yet to go, as we all do. But it just seems like people who have these behaviors, some of them have transitioned. Some of them have transformed. So I wouldn't want you throwing your marriage away because you are assuming your spouse is something that they're not. That's why the testing is important. And somebody who specializes in counseling people who have that type of issue.
I guess at the end of the day, you need to go ahead and get you some good counseling. Find somebody who specializes in narcissism so that you can, first of all, talk to them about what you're dealing with in your home and get somebody to say, yes, it's likely they are or not. And then what do we do from here?
Yeah, guys, I hope this has been helpful. We've been talking about narcissism. We're going to be doing this for the next show topic or two, because there's so much to unpack, and we hope that you're getting something out of it. So listen, get ready. The next 2 days, the next 3 days is going to be powerful, but subscribe to the channel. It makes no sense if you're watching us, but you're not live with us. So go to the YouTube channel, Couples Academy, and subscribe. Share this with everyone you know.
Share.
Like us. I know you like us, but like the post so that we can take this thing to another level, guys. Listen, I hope you're enjoying everything that you're getting. We would love to hear from you, to be a part of this community. And all I have to say is see you
right now.
In
like,
the
share,
AM.
Subscribe.
All right, guys. Talk to you soon.
Can't bring us down. Ain't nothing